So a while ago, I beat 50/20 from Ultimate Custom Night, my first ever max mode. This challenge took months, mostly because I sucked. Since then, I've gone on to complete 35/20 from UCN Recode, a modified take on Ultimate Custom Night that requires more active tool usage and thinking while you play. 50/20 mode destroyed me to play, and while I beat it before my self-imposed deadline of my 18th birthday, it came very close to not being possible. 35/20 took a total of 10 days, and was something that quickly became the most tedious thing I'd ever played. Even after rebeating it, I only ever revisited the game once with the goal of attempting 35/20 mode once over, completing it 3 extra times over before finally dropping the mode. So naturally, with my exhaustion from UCN-like modes, you'd think I'd never want to touch one again, right? In today's video, we're going to relive the nightmare by once more taking on and beating the final game standing in our way to completing the UCN trio, Ultimate Custom Night Deluxe. UCN Deluxe is quite well known amongst max mode players, and once upon a time was among the very top modes of the main list. While, since it's been developer blacklisted, you can still find the game placed on the AML, from which we can gather it would roughly place in the top 30 if it was still on the main list. As per always, today's video will be a breakdown and guide to 50/20 Deluxe and my full walkthrough of my experience in pursuit of a new top hardest after... This challenge was quite a bit different and there's a fair bit to talk about, so please sit back, relax and enjoy the video. UCN Deluxe is a mod developed by Nephrite intended to turn UCN into a more skill-based mode and remove a lot of RNG. Unlike UCN Recode, Deluxe focuses more on your speed, snappy movements and muscle memory instead of your ability to process lots of information mentally. Like Recode, however, UCN Deluxe increases the night length to 6 minutes, with a ratio of 1 minute real time being an hour in game. Additionally, the power has been scaled accordingly in order to make pace possible. Every enemy is generally more random and no longer works on fixed intervals. Additionally, many enemies have been tweaked in small ways. All cases of stalling from the original game have been removed, so you can't just simply sit and wait for the night to end while holding 80% of the roster in complete gridlock. Now, unlike my last 2 main videos, I'm not going to break down every single character within this game. Now, it's not because I'm lazy, okay, maybe a little, but because UCN Deluxe is quite similar to both vanilla 50/20 and in turn a little similar to UCN Recode. Because of that, I'm going to assume you already understand how the majority of vanilla Ultimate Custom Night's characters work. Don't worry though, because all the strategy information and major important changes of the mode will still be explained within this video so that you can beat the game. I'm instead going to use a simple system of placing extra information alongside this little fella in the screen on the corner where more context might be needed to understand what I'm talking about. So with that done, we're going to get straight into the strategy. Now, unlike 35/20 or even my time, there's not actually a lot of build up needed, nor any that I really used. Instead, all you need is a particular skill set, some game knowledge and an understanding of the mode's cycle, and the few ifs, buts and maybes that sometimes come with it. Firstly, let's look at the overall mode strategy. We can more or less divide our actions into 2 key components: the setup phase and literally the rest of the fucking night. During the setup phase, our main goal is to coin farm. Coin farming in UCN Deluxe remains the same as it was in vanilla, where the player is awarded coins for either finding them on the cameras or blocking an animatronic with a door, vent snare or duct entrance, or by clicking on Healthy. The normal coin farming technique from vanilla 50/20 is quite simple, where we can abuse certain animatronic spawning conditions to gain coins by instantly blocking them. Every time you flip up the cameras, Healthy will spawn in your offers and either Balloon Boy or JJ will appear in the side vent. In vanilla 50/20, we could use this information to farm coins by opening then closing the cameras, flipping on the mask to deal with Golden Freddy, shutting the side vent, clicking on Healthy, and then checking Nightmare Balloon Boy before repeating this loop. However, in the original game we only needed 10 coins at the start of the night in order to be set up. Here in Deluxe, we're going to need at least 120 in order to buy all of the plushies who've had their costs doubled from their original counterparts. So our biggest issue with this method is speed. Using this tactic, we're only going to generate around 1 coin a second on the fastest of our movements. And at 14 seconds, our coin farming is going to get cut off. So what do we do to help ourselves improve our coin pace? Well, allow me to introduce you to what's known as Maskless. Maskless lets us quicken our coin farming pace to nearly 2 coins a second by hastening the process used to collect the coins. To execute Maskless, simply do the following. As soon as the night starts, hold down S and the spacebar to turn off the fan and open the cameras. Then put your index finger over the F key. Drop the cameras at the same time as you closing the side vent. When you drop cams, flick your mouse to click Helpy and look to see whether or not Nightmare BB is upright or not. If he's standing, flick your mouse to the side and flash him with the flashlight before you re-enter the cameras. Then repeat this loop. Maskless is a lot more skill based in its execution, but with enough practice you'll be sure to get the hang of it. Deluxe removes all the RNG with healthy spawns as well as the balloon kids, so they'll always show up on a camera flip now. During the Maskless coin farm, we're going to need to keep track of whether Foxy or Bonnie is in Pirate's Cove. If Bonnie's in Pirate's Cove, we can ignore him for now, but if Foxy does show up, which he's guaranteed to either at the start of the night or during the latter half of the coin farming, we're gonna have to execute a Foxy check. In order to do this, on one of your flips up, quickly select Pirate's Cove, then flick to the prize corner or the kitchen camera. Then you can resume your Maskless coin farm. Get as many coins as you can utilizing Maskless, because once the 14-second mark hits, we're going to continue with the rest of the setup. At 14 seconds, we can finish the setup by going through what we're going to call a mini cycle. With only a few threats actually of any danger to us right now, we can shrink what we will do during a full camera cycle into this mini one. Open the cameras and turn on the power generator and fan. Close off the side vent while moving to the kitchen camera. If you're going to use the death coin, do so now. You can flick to the prize corner to purchase it before selecting the kitchen can. We're going to be on this camera so that we can wind the music box while checking our vent and duct systems. Now first, go to the ducts. The ducts in Deluxe are actually one of the simplest things to understand, but for now, all you have to do is place an audio lure on the center left side here. If someone is below this lure and near the entrance, that's fine. Instead, just place it over the top of them to hold them in place. Now here, you can go to the vents and shut off the left snare, but if you're confident in being fast enough, you can skip this step entirely. I personally skipped it a lot if I knew I would be doing my next camera cycle before roughly the 25-second mark. After doing that, go over to Toy Freddy's camera, find Mr. Hugs and block him, and then switch to another camera within Toy Freddy's minigame. You see, Mr. Hugs is unable to stay at a closed door when he moves, and we're always going to get to Toy Freddy after Mr. Hugs moves. By prematurely changing his camera, we'll narrow down the possible spawn locations Mr. Hugs can be in on our next cycle to one of the 2 positions on the cameras, saving us some time. Then flick over to the Showtime camera where Funtime Foxy is. We're going to end every single cycle on this camera from now on. After you've completed the setup, you can drop the cameras and perform an office cycle. To do one, the steps are very simple. Put on your mask as you exit the cameras, click Helpy and turn on the silent ventilation. Lefty will grow angry from the noise we made earlier, but using the silent vents during most office cycles will keep him calm. You don't even have to have it on for the entire time. Then, flip the wet floor sign to the right side, then back to the left and flash Nightmare BB if you need to. Check on Scrap Baby and Shocker if you need to as well. Flash away Phantom Freddy and the Freddles before checking who's on the desk in front of you. Generally, Foxy and Bonnie will switch after every cam cycle, but it always helps to look in case you forget who you're dealing with, as you want to keep Foxy in his first stage of progress for as long as possible. As you do all of this, a few door characters are going to attack. Deal with them accordingly before preparing to re-enter the cameras. Within Deluxe 5020, there isn't any need to sit idle in the office, so once the office is clear, wait only for a second or two, and then begin the next camera cycle. If you're using the death coin, you might be able to wait a bit longer, but there isn't any requirement to. The second camera cycle will also be a mini cycle, but we're going to have to check the vents this time too, for sure. Before that though, check on the ducts as per normal. Look for Nedbear and Orville. In Deluxe, the only way to stop them is with the duct door. So what we're going to do is set an audio lure on the side they're opposite of, and then open the duct in order to close the one they're approaching. The audio lure will keep the other duct animatronics away from us, while the door forces Nightmare and Orbital to bonk. Once you've done this, go to the vents and set a snare in the path of Mangle or Withered Chica, depending on who's closest. By now, it should be rather apparent. Once you've done that, you can leave the systems, deal with Toy Freddy in the same manner, and then go to Funtime Foxy's camera. Plush Trap will have spawned by now, so we're going to watch him until he leaves or is close to. Afterwards, drop the cameras and do your next office cycle. Something extra to note is that Nightmare Chica will spawn at 32 seconds. In Deluxe, you must use the heater in order to make her leave. If you're in the cameras when 32 seconds elapses, turn on the heater right now as you drop the cameras in order to make her instantly go away. Using the silent ventilation while she's there will make her jaw close way faster. If 32 seconds hasn't passed, simply turn on the heater over it in order to make her instantly leave. It's only after these 2 mini cycles and these office cycles that we're going to be forced to do a full camera cycle. At around the 37-second mark, Rockstar Bunny is going to spawn, and we're going to have to find his guitar in order to not die. Rockstar Bunny's guitar can spawn either in the left or right halls, Toy Freddy's room, or Funtime Foxy's room. Thankfully, we can check all of these positions pretty easily while performing the camera cycle. Complete your check of the ducts and vents as per normal before going to the cameras. Once in cams, check both hallways for the guitar, then switch to Toy Freddy's room. Basically, we're just going to look for his guitar, then deal with Toy Freddy, and then come back to get it. If you didn't see it in the halls or Toy Freddy's room, then you know it must be in the Showtime camera, so you can simply collect it at the end of the cycle. You could grab the guitar as you check the hallways, but personally, I found it easier to first locate it, deal with Toy Freddy, then snap back and grab it before going to the Showtime cam. The first cycle in the night should wrap up around the 45 to 47 second mark, and will be the last full cycle of the hour if you grab the guitar in it. Then, with about 10 seconds left in the hour, do one more mini cycle in order to be ready for the Showtime. Thankfully, in UCN Deluxe, we don't have to be in the cameras for a Showtime anymore. So as long as we've got Funtime Foxy's room selected and are using the camera systems, we will automatically watch the Showtime even if the camera panel itself is closed. Now, did you get all of that? Because if so, congratulations. You already know a majority of what you need in order to beat 50/20 Deluxe. There's only a few extra factors you need to consider in order to beat the mode, and I'm going to call these the Oddities. These Oddities are things that can or will happen that you'll need to be able to bend into the cycle. The first major oddity of the night is the plushie animatronics. At 1, 3 and 5 AM, a plushie animatronic is going to spawn in the right hallway. On your next camera cycle, try to check which plushie animatronic spawned by flicking to the right hall. Then once you know which is there, and have a total of 40 coins or more, purchase the matching plushie the next time you finish dealing with Toy Freddy. You'll have to do this 3 times in the night, and each plushie animatronic will give you a full hour to purchase their matching toy in order to survive, so just make sure you don't forget it or don't buy the wrong one. A good thing to note is that while animatronic hitting doors do give you coins, these coin additions don't stack. This is due to a quirk with how the coin is awarded in the game's code. Effectively, the game gives a coin when the bonk noise stops playing. That means if the bonk noise is interrupted by a second bonk or 2 play simultaneously, the game only awards a single coin for the last bonk sound that stops playing. Thankfully, this doesn't affect Healthy, but does mean it can be beneficial to try and deal with door characters in an order rather than all at once. However, this will increase your overall keyboard chaos at any given time, and you're going to have to try and manually clear each active door threat once at a go. If you choose to play with the death coin, this is also going to be a requirement in order to maintain coin pace and farm extra coins during the bulk of the night. Another thing that you'll need to track over the night is the one and only Freddy Fazbear, and you're gonna see why. In order to save time in the cameras and increase the speed in the cycle, we can use mini cycles every time Rockstar Bonnie isn't in the office, but this does run the risk of missing Freddy's arrival. Thankfully, there's a fairly easy way to track him otherwise. Freddy will always be at your door on a 50-second interval, unless the building is significantly overheating. Extra temperature will make Freddy move faster, but unless you've been skating around the 80 to 90 degree range for a while, he should never deviate enough from it for this to be an issue. Do note, however, that Freddy doesn't leave the door as fast as other enemies. All door characters, excluding Freddy and Scraptrap, which, don't worry, we'll also get to him, will leave after the door being closed for 0.5 seconds. Freddy takes a full second to leave, for some reason. So always make sure to remember Freddy's intervals and hold the door closed long enough for him to go away. Freddy will usually be early to his 50-second intervals too by a couple seconds, so if you find yourself in the office right before his 50-second interval would pass, you can deal with him early and reduce the overall mode chaos on yourself just a little bit. Finally, one of the biggest oddities to note is what's been dubbed Deluxe has no RNG. Basically, there's this funny little situation you can get where Mangle and Withered Chica line up perfectly in your vents such that you don't know who's is going to hit first. There's not much you can really do to avoid this when it happens, so instead we're simply going to block one of their paths and then resume the cycle. After dealing with Toy Freddy in a mini cycle, or checking the halls in a full one, come back to the vents and quickly snare them both. This is a bit risky as there's no avoiding the situation from sometimes just happening, but thankfully it can be easily circumnavigated if you're snappy enough to handle it. Additionally, if you do miss Withered Chica, just close the front vent until she leaves. She can still be blocked by it in Deluxe, but Mangle can't. So if you're really stuck and have to clear one, clear Mangle and wait for Withered Chica to go by bonking on the door. With all of this in mind, you are now armed with the required game knowledge to take on 50/20 Deluxe. For this mode, I did absolutely no build up beyond beating a very easy 40/20 roster in order to unlock the FNAF 4 themed offers. I recommend this one because it's the least visually cluttered of them and will make it easier to see threats right in front of you. The only downside is that Healthy spawns a bit further away from Nightmare BB, so you're going to have to adjust to flicking your mouse further, but overall it's not a huge issue to handle. So, armed with all this information, a couple new office backdrops, and an existential sense of dread from my last two experiences with UCN modes, I finally began playing Deluxe. Funnily enough, I hadn't had any intention to really go for 50/20 out of the gate. I've actually had Deluxe for months, since around the time of my 35/20 completion, but I never really gave it a go because of Maskless. To me, Maskless was something I truly couldn't grasp for the longest time, as pulling it off consistently was something I just could not seem to handle. With enough practice, it's certainly not nearly as bad as it first seems, but getting runs into the first mini cycle of the night seemed almost impossible for the longest time. That was until a few things changed. Now, I don't feel the need to spill my heart out in a YouTube video about fucking FNAF games of all things, but I was going through a bad time. A combination of multiple compounding factors in my personal life over a period of time had me feeling like a total train wreck for weeks. And with that, I retreated back into the max mode rabbit hole. Max modes and games in general are usually my way of trying to escape from real world pressures, to instead give myself 40 minutes, an hour, or maybe more, to just grind a challenge that I find questionably enjoyable, so that I can take my mind away from real things breathing down my neck, and Deluxe became no exception to that. Honestly, I do not recommend this. There are healthier ways to cope with stress and mental health related issues than playing a game that's going to make you stressed or angry from its difficulty, but apparently I'm a repeat offender of not following my own advice. Because of this, I didn't really feel like seeing my own face in recording, and sometimes I just didn't record at all. And it was on one of those days of not recording while playing that I managed to fluke a huge 241.5 in 50/20 Deluxe without any intention of doing so. I'd just been playing it randomly in order to not think about things, and by total accident fluked nearly half the night. This fluke was off camera, and it was what sold to me that I could reconquer UCN one more time if I truly wanted to. And with that, the grind began truly to relive the nightmare once more. And so, my first day of truly grinding Deluxe began. At this point, I was still trying to use the FNAF 3 office, as it was less visually noisy than the default one, but kept Helpy in a similar spot as to what I was already used to when performing Maskless. This decision did not stick, and a few days later I'd take it upon myself to switch, but for now you're stuck watching the ugly green background. Seeing as I was going to do a Death Coin completion, my choice of characters to remove were Chica and the Puppet. These two chew up quite a bit of cycle time, both in listening for Chica's pots and pans and in winding the music box, and so I figured taking them out would allow me to blitz the ducks and vents without them being much a problem. Off the bat, I was finding my biggest issue while performing Maskless consistently and keeping up with Foxy. Every time the mini arenas came on screen, my brain would just forget to check on Foxy, and I'd end up allowing him to just blitz through his stages towards killing me. The day best only came out to a 235.8, just shy of my PB, accompanied by a few deaths in the 1 AM hour. Pretty quickly, I was finding that Maskless was also getting tricky to get the hang of repeatedly, especially as I tried to mix the 14-second setup phase into it. Soon enough, I abandoned that entirely in favour of the method I covered earlier in this video, which I found was a lot easier and still just as effective. It was disheartening to be failing to get any new records, but I figured it was still early days and that 235 was a sign that I could make progress if I kept pushing. And so I rolled into day 2. I played a lot less on this day and it showed, as the day best didn't even come close to what had come before it. The mini arenas were still killing any run that made it to them, and half the time I was just forgetting to check on Foxy at all before starting the camera cycles, allowing him to catch me way earlier. I was also constantly missing Healthy because of him being hidden behind Scrap Baby in the FNAF 3 office. With how much is going on in my B-brain, I couldn't seem to understand and handle what was going on, and my muscle memory was too inconsistent with clicking on his position. Ultimately, no progress being made is quite a shame again, but more and more runs were pushing into that mid to late 1 AM range, which did mean that some amount of consistency within the night's start up into the mini arena spawns was building. Day 3 came and the struggle continued, but little did I know that today was going to be the day where I'd finally start really pushing into new progress. Runs were going deeper much more often, consistently making it to the 1 or 2 AM ranges, until finally I cracked the halfway mark with a 301, dying to Lefty after forgetting about the silent ventilation constantly. Deluxe's consistency made it much easier for me to improve my skill, and with a 3 AM finally under my belt, my motivation surged for me to keep pushing. I kept going and going and going until finally. What? A whole minute. This PB was huge. Day 3 and I'd already made it not just past the halfway mark, but deep past and nearly into 4 AM. While I failed to match this jump for the rest of the day, it really drove me to keep playing, sinking nearly a full hour and a half into the mode before finally calling it out for the day. In all of my videos, when I jump in progress, I always seem to take 2 steps back right after it, and true to form, day 4 was like that. Truth be told, day 4 in general just wasn't a good day for me, and that bled right into my time playing Deluxe. Despite sinking over an hour into the game, I couldn't seem to perform in the slightest, dying to things that I really shouldn't have, and stupid avoidable mistakes that should not have been happening to begin with. Not every day is a good one of grinding, and not every day is a happy one to begin with, and this was easily the most shocking performance I displayed while chasing down this max mode. The day best only came out to a 218 Death to Scrap Trap, a pretty large step back from the 344 that preceded it. Honestly, my head just wasn't in it, and I was struggling to even think properly to begin with, so it's no real surprise that this day had no chance from the onset. With the advent of day 5, I got on once more to play Deluxe, cautiously optimistic that I'd perhaps do better. Off the bat, my runs were far more consistent. I was surviving the coin farming more often than not, and most runs were pushing close to or even past 2 AM, and before long I was beginning to see a couple of 3 AMs. Sure enough, a push into the late 3 AM range to perhaps an early 4 AM was looking possible, and before I knew it, oh my god. My hopes of getting a 4 AM may have been dashed, but to have at least pushed the record out once more was a good sign. To be getting records at the pace that I was actually quite new, and progress like this only ever happened to me when I was grinding my first ever big max mode, My Time. I continued to play, yet still, my issues of the day prior persisted and I was beginning to become exhausted. I even put my webcam down because, frankly, I don't really like watching myself, especially during a bad time, but it does serve to demonstrate the keyboard chaos of the mode quite well. You can see here why Deluxe can actually be quite difficult compared to some other modes, because of the sheer volume of inputs going on at any given time. Atop this, my hands were getting sore with cramps from the Maskless coin farming at the start of every single run, making it difficult to play for long periods of time. It got so bad that at one point I actually couldn't bend the little finger on my right hand, which I used to hold the mouse, because of how bad the cramping was. I honestly think Deluxe could induce arthritis in you if you spent enough time on it. I never ended up breaking 4 AM on day 5, only getting back to 3 AM a few times with the new PB, and so I was forced to stop and return for another day with the goal of hitting 4 AM. Day 6 started with a bang, making it all the way to a 316 run where I died to Molten Freddy. Despite anything I might have been feeling on Day 6, my gameplay skill was certainly growing quite a lot, and I proved that to be true by pushing deep into 3 AM with a 355 to Foxy. Normally I'd have been crushed, but today I kept going, driving harder and harder with the idea of a 4 AM being possible if I kept up the pace I'd been holding all day, and before long the impossible became possible.
You never stood a chance!
Day 6 and a 4 AM has been achieved. Quite frankly, I was stunned in a way. A 4 AM after only 6 days of playing was unprecedented speed, and the last few days had seen really consistent improvements over and over to the point where I was beginning to feel that perhaps this challenge would get fluked sooner than I thought. Deluxe is a game that is very consistent once you get it, and generally, it's the only mode where I felt that I've been constantly improving over and over with each day that had gone by, with perhaps some exceptions. Still, I refused to let myself get cocky. My skill had been growing steadily, but to actually see it so apparently in front of me helped a lot in fueling my drive to play Deluxe over the coming days. And so, it was that fuel that pushed me into Day 7, with an early 4 AM out of the gate. I fumbled to Foxy and failing to check his progress, but still another 4 AM was always welcome. It didn't take long, however, for my newest record to roll in, and it was perhaps one of the biggest jumps of the challenge so far. Realizing I'd been granted a golden opportunity to perhaps finally break the 5 AM wall, nerves began to creep in, and with a mix of that and my adrenaline, I made a very stupid mistake.
Oh, that cheater, and he's serious.
I was the first. I have seen everything.
Day 7 came with no 5 AM, and nor did the day that followed. Matter of fact, Day 8 came with another step back, and a huge reduction in my playtime. I honestly just couldn't find the motivation for anything on Day 8, Deluxe included, and so with a 4 AM I called it a day early. In retrospect, a late 4 AM on Day 8 did prove one thing though. I was consistent with my performance in Deluxe, and that late 4 AM hadn't been a fluke. In fact, if anything, my flukes for Deluxe should ideally only continue to grow since the mode plays the same in the 5 AM hour as the 1 AM hour, the only difference being your mental state, endurance, and nerve control. And little did I know that the idea about flukes and consistency was going to be hugely vindicated. With over 7 hours of Deluxe under my belt, I pushed into Day 9 with the goal of finally breaking the 5 AM wall. I was calm today, unnervingly so, despite anything else weighing on my mind, and so I hooked in for another play session of Deluxe, not knowing what was going to come to follow. no, oh my god, are you serious? You... Oh no. This death was devastating. 1.9 seconds. That was the difference between me and victory. 9 days and 7 hours had all led up to this, and it had all been torn away from me, and the worst part, it wasn't even my fault. Allow past me to explain. Oh my god, there's this antivirus that came with this computer when I bought it, and the free trial expired, and I just died because the uninstall fucking popped up on my screen and I couldn't fucking hear Scrap Trap show up and I couldn't even use the controls. What the I've died to RNG, I've died to skill issues, but dying to a Windows prompt, now that is something else. Of course, after such a loss, I could not do it again, and frankly, I couldn't even make it to 5 AM a second time. I had fluked the mode so calmly, and had it all torn away from me at the last second from the finish line by something entirely out of my hands. By the start of day 10, I had come to accept the 558 loss. I was still gutted, don't get me wrong, but it did mean one thing. I could beat 5020 Deluxe. I had been right there, and all it was going to take now was just one more run to 5 AM and I'd be over the line. And so I sat down and started playing. Sure enough, no consistency had left me, and nothing had been lost, and the chance of another 5 AM of a win today was becoming very real once more. Then, that was until the unthinkable happened.
Please deposit 5 coins. Please deposit 5 coins. Thank you for depositing 5 coins.
I don't believe it. I cannot believe that just happened. If you had to ask me what my worst death in a max mode was before now, I would have told you my 544 in UCN Recode, as that death sent me on a 7-day spiral where I was mentally blocked, but at least with that mode, it was a mix of my own fault from a skill problem and a huge fluke. This death, by far, is my new worst. I had closed the door on Freddy's 550 interval and heard a bonk. In my mind, Freddy was cleared, and just as I was relaxing in that last second, just as I could relax in my mind being so sure that I was over the line and I just conquered the nightmare all over, I was utterly stunned by the sight of Freddy Fazbear himself smiting my hopes of an easy win. I died 1 frame from the end. A 60th of a second made the difference between this being the end and me being forced to continue playing. And this was early in the day's runs too, and if you couldn't tell how desperate I was for a win now, have a look at the game time spent. I had done it twice, and had been swindled of my victory on both occasions. It is hard to describe how desperately I was driving for a victory now, for one final effort that would get me over the line and have this mode finally completed, and yet I just couldn't do it. Day 11 was hell. I was trapped again, and the 3520 curse had followed me for what it seemed to be the second time, now across from one UCN mod to another, because I just couldn't do it that day. I played, died, played, died, and despite getting to 5 AM not once, not twice, but 3 separate times, I just couldn't find the run that would get me over the line. I sank over 2 hours into the day, and despite that, I just could not break that final barrier. All my 5 AM deaths were making me worse too in that final hour, because now I was skilled enough to beat the mode, but I couldn't help but grow more and more nervous every time. If every run could be the one to do it, then my mind seemed to just think it had every right to get furiously anxious and full of nerves the second the timer started with a 5. Despite the hours of attempts, it was hopeless, and day 11 passed without any wins. Day 12 was also hell. I had far less time to sink today into the game, but despite that, another 5 AM came and went, this time to Scrap Trap. You might recall me earlier explaining that Scrap Trap is a bit different to other characters who use the doors, like Freddy, but I never actually went into why this is the case. You see, Scrap Trap preys on your muscle memory failing you. Unlike other door characters, he doesn't take 0.5 seconds to bonk, but he also doesn't take a full second. Instead, Scrap Trap has a timer which ticks down every frame. Once that counter hits 1, the game checks if the vent door is open or not. Scrap Trap's counter seems to just be a little bit longer than 0.5 seconds, but less than 1 second. So if you close the door and open it the way you would for other door characters, you end up with a near frame perfect killing yourself with Scrap Trap. And when you're high on 5 AM nerves, it's really easy to throw it all away to him just because of that. I was terrified now. How much was that 5:58 and that 6 AM going to cost me? How many days, how many hours would I be set back all because of that stupid Windows prompt ruining my run? Just how much longer would this take to finally be rid of this mode and to finally rebeat the nightmare that was 50/20? Another day, another 5 AM death to nerves. Despite all my runs going deep, very deep, my first run of the day even being a mid 4 AM death, I still just couldn't get over that final barrier of 6 AM. The menu screen best time felt like a taunt, a constant reminder that the end had been in sight and that it was nearly over almost days ago, and yet I just could not do it. High on 5 AM nerves, I'd thrown it away to Music Man. This time, it'd been due to a combination of my brain being fogged with a sheer sense of panic in the last 10 seconds and my fingers locking up. I'd been freaking out that I hadn't covered all my bases, and to ensure that I was ready for the end of the night, I was trying my hardest to complete the final cycles. And yet, amidst all of that, I hadn't been paying attention to the glaringly obvious fact that Music Man was pissed. Sure enough, I was checked for it, and that was the game. Every attempt carried that weight of dread with it. Dread that I was going to get so far and yet fall just short one more time. Deluxe had truly become a nightmare by this point. This situation where despite all my consistency and improvement until now, I just could not break that final wall. It was this suffocating experience really, like this constant stress that every time I played, I was going to get so close and yet never be able to get over the end. And ultimately, with no wins on day 13, I was forced to come back yet again for another day. "14 hours and 11 minutes. That's how long I'd spent on Deluxe by the start of day 14. I started the day after work and immediately, another late 5 AM death to nerves. This time I stopped straight away and took a shower to calm myself down, as with jittery hands I could not play. Only after that did I return to continue going. I've always prided myself on being someone who can bounce back and do things that they don't want to do, and no matter what, I'll always get back up when pushed down. Deluxe to me would be no different. Despite a, by now, 5-day setback from that 5:58 death, despite being robbed a frame from the end, and despite my own physical cramps and mental challenges, I knew I could beat Deluxe if I kept pushing, despite the growing hatred and exhaustion I was beginning to feel for the game. And so, at 7:42 PM, I finally managed to break through, and I finally managed to relive and reconquer the nightmare.
It's feeling scrambled, the end is out of sight. But if you will wonder, you might survive the night.
It's funky bunky. It's funky bunky. It's funky bunky. It's funky bunky. Please deposit 5 coins. Thank you for depositing 5 coins. Please deposit 5 coins. Please deposit 5 coins. Please deposit 5 coins. For depositing 5 coins. Thank you for depositing 5 coins.
$14 hours and 36 minutes. That's the time it took for me to take down 5020 Deluxe, and with it over, I was finally able to put the UCN trio to rest with the last big challenge conquered. 5020 Deluxe had been beaten, and finally I could place this mode behind me with a new top hardest secured under my belt. I'm so glad. Holy fuck, bro. Fucking finally. Thank you all very much for watching. This video has been an interesting one to make. My experience playing Deluxe, please forgive my voice, it's dying at the end of recording this script. I'm like hacking my lungs up between takes and trying to cut it out as best I can. This video has been a unique one to make, and it's definitely very different from some of the things I've done before. Cutting out the individual character explanation has definitely shortened the runtime a lot. I still anticipate it'll be a decently lengthy video, I think maybe like a half hour, based on what I've seen before, but I don't know. I just felt it was kind of needless to explain every character again when most people familiar with Vanilla, 5020, and FNAF probably already know how they all work. I've lost my thought, oh my god. I always do these outros unscripted. If you don't know, none of these have scripts. Sometimes I put dot points, but I never script them. So I'm full winging it right now. I'm so sorry this video took so long to get out. I'm really annoyed at myself for how long it did take. Even as of recording this, it is significantly later than I wanted it to be. This script has been written for like a week, but I got sick like the day after writing, and I just did not have time to get it recorded. I'm starting university now, so that's probably also going to delay videos. I will be doing intermission stuff again between my next big hardest ones. I'm sorry this video did not cover 5020 no death coin. I didn't feel like delaying it any longer to include that. Rest assured, it'll probably happen at some point. I haven't played Deluxe a lot recently. It's kind of just been an on-off game that I come back to quite a bit. I'll randomly be like, oh, I'm going to play some NDC. Like, even just yesterday, I was getting mid 2 AMs. The PB for no death coin is a 5 AM. I don't know how I did that. I fluked it randomly, and I haven't gotten back to it since, but I will definitely probably do it at some point. Definitely, maybe. It's a good album too. I don't know, but there is a chance that it'll happen. If it does, it'll be posted on the second channel, which you should go look at. This is the part where I tell you to like and subscribe to both. The second channel will now be the home of all of the wallproofs too. Anyways, with that said, I don't think there's much else to say. I'm quite happy with the script for this video, I think. I'll see how I feel after the editing, it's hard to say, but until then, I hope you have enjoyed this one. There will be more to come in the future. I don't know what the next mode's going to be yet. I've got a very big one I've been playing, and I've got some other ones I've been playing, and yeah, I don't know, so you'll see when you see it. In the meantime, have a look on the second channel. I do a lot of random stuff there when I feel like it. You'll see some random things. A lot of stuff from this one's getting re-uploaded over there publicly, including wallproofs. All the main channel wallproofs will be there. And some other random stuff, like I think Headspace Emissary's Dead is over there because I just randomly played it once. Things like that. So green runs will probably appear there too. I do want to try and redo a super custom night green run. But anyways, until then, I hope you've enjoyed this one. Like, sub, whatever, you know the drill. And I'm really hoping to come back with another big video soon. But until then, the guy on your screen shall disappear now.